Welcome to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Going ahead and get into it. Okay, so everybody knows about the Bulls and Knicks rivalry. Okay, the playoff games. And mainly it was Michael Jordan's dominance of the Knicks in the playoffs every time they met, except for 1994. Okay, so but there were some Knicks coaches that particularly talked their share of trash about Michael Jordan. Okay, and as players around the NBA said, whenever you talk trash about Michael, that's all he needed to hear. Okay, so the first example of this came in 1989, during the 1989 playoffs. They're playing the Knicks, okay? And so there's a story involving Rick Pitino, who was coaching the New York Knicks at that time. Okay. So Jordan wrote in one of his several books, For the Love of the Game. There were a couple of games against the Knicks where their coaches made a statement I didn't agree with. During the 1989 playoffs, I turned my ankle, and Rick Pitino, who was the Knicks coach, went on TV and said he really didn't think I was hurt. I made sure it didn't look like I was hurt the next day and dropped 47. Let me reheat that one more time. I turned my ankle, and Knicks coach Rick Pitino, who was the Knicks coach, went on TV and said he really didn't think I was hurt. I made sure it didn't look like I was hurt the next day and dropped 47 on him. Remember, whenever you talk stuff about Michael, that's all he needed to hear, right? Okay, so this is insane. Jordan scored 47 points and then shot 66% from the. He scored 47 points and then he shot 66% with 11 rebounds and 6 assists. The Bulls won the game 106-93, went up 3-1, eventually winning the series 4-2. Okay. That's insane. So I guess Pat Riley knew better not to poke the bear when it comes to talking stuff about Michael Jordan, right? But Jeff Van Gundy decided he would poke the bear. Okay? So in 1997, Phil Jackson referred to Jeff Van Gundy as Jeff Van Gundy, Gumby, Jeff Van Gundy. Okay, and the reason why he referred to Van Gundy as Van Gundy is because Jeff Van Gundy called Michael Jordan, quote, con man. Okay. He called Michael Jordan a con man, okay? So, Michael had this to say. Jeff Van Gundy did the same thing during the 1997 season. He called me a con man and said I lulled opposing players to sleep by befriending them. That really irritated me. I gave him 44 points the next day. And said, con that, little man. Everyone asked me what I said to Van Gundy after the game, and that's about as nice as a translation as I can give you, which meant there was some X-rated stuff he said to Van Gundy, likely. And so he also burned Van Gundy again during the 1998 season. Okay, it was in early January 1998. Michael dropped 44 points and shot 51% from the field. He also guided the Bulls to a 90-89 victory, but more importantly, he humbled Van Gundy and taught him never to talk smack to Black Jesus again. Yeah. So like I said, you don't embarrass the greatest player of all time. I think you're going to get away with it long term. Okay. Speaking of the Knicks, few players can get under the skin of other players like Reggie Miller. Okay. And I know when Chuck Person and Reggie Miller played together in Indianapolis, they were good players, but they were also agitators too. Okay. And because they could get under your skin, and they got under Jordan and Pippen's skin quite often. Okay. I read a story where Scottie Pippen was driving to the hole, and he was trying to elbow Reggie Miller in the head. And in the process of trying to elbow Reggie Miller, he lost a ball. Okay. And it was a turnover. Okay. So let's fast forward to the 1993 NBA playoffs, where the Knicks are playing the Pacers in the first round. And it was apparent that Reggie Miller got under John Stark's skin very early. Okay. And it was apparent because only 45 seconds had elapsed in game one, and Starks had picked up 2 quick fouls. Okay. Starks had picked up 2 quick fouls. Okay. And so by the time game 3 at Market Square Arena came, there were some who were saying John Starks was on edge because Reggie Miller had got under his skin. Right. And just to give you the buildup of the headbutt, okay, that got Starks thrown out of game 3. He was complaining that Reggie Miller was hitting him with elbows, okay? John Starks was complaining that Reggie Miller was hitting him with aggressive elbows, and he was complaining to referee Jake O'Donnell the whole time, okay? He was complaining to Jake O'Donnell the whole time. And Jake O'Donnell finally said, "Hey, Starks, shut up and play, okay? Shut up and play." And I just find it very, very ironic with the physical nature of the New York Knicks at that time that John Starks would be complaining about elbows, okay? When he literally plays for one of the more physically aggressive teams in the NBA and the New York Knicks at that time, that John Starks would be complaining about getting hit with aggressive elbows. Okay. I just find it very ironic. Anyway, but Jake O'Donnell told him to shut up and play. Okay. And John Starks was kind of erratic. Turnovers, bad shots. Okay. And I think it was Reggie Miller who said, and so I think it was Reggie Miller who said, "John, look at your stats. You're supposed to be a starting guard in the NBA. Look at your stats." And apparently John Starks said, "I know what you're trying to do." He said, and Reggie Miller was like, whoa, wait a second. Do what? Wait. Let's just play hay ball, okay? Let's just play hay ball, okay? And Patrick Ewing noticed that he was getting red. John Starks was starting to turn red. And Patrick Ewing went up to him and said, "Don't do nothing stupid. All right? We need you." Okay? And so, this is where Reggie Miller is still hitting him with elbows. He's complaining to Jake O'Donnell. And Reggie Miller, John Starks just got fed up. And then after John Starks gets kicked out, John Starks' mother comes up to Patrick Ewing after the game and says, "I don't like the way you handle my son." And Patrick Ewing said, Mrs. Starks, if your son did that 100 more times, I would react that same way 100 more times. Okay. So, yeah. So, yeah. Just a little bit of a bit held up to that Reggie Miller head, but that had been building since game one. So, yeah. So I also saw all his story right here. I never knew who this right here. Shaquille O'Neal says he was addicted to painkillers during his career. Okay. A lot of athletes are. Okay. But we never hear about it. And Shaq actually admitted he was addicted to painkillers. He said, hold on, let me find it. He said because of how his body felt after every game, Shaquille O'Neal turned to prescription painkillers so he could keep playing at the highest level. Except addiction is a cruel mistress, and as O'Neal admits himself, he never stopped at taking just one at a time for the better part of his career. Yeah. Yeah. So, after every game, Shaq sat in the locker room sporting numerous bruises, nicks, and cuts all over his body. While he did everything to mitigate the pain, nothing seemed to work quite as well as the prescription painkillers. Unbeknownst to the big man, he was already on the slippery slope towards addiction. Shaq had this to say. He said, I was having heated discussions with my doctor. He's like, you were addicted, but I didn't feel high. Okay. O'Neal said that while he didn't get that high feeling, he did realize he couldn't play without taking painkillers. So I didn't know that was addiction, he stressed. So Shaq didn't know that was addiction. Like if I had a knack, I would take it. I don't want to feel that knack because we need this game, O'Neal remarked. I need to play great. To be great, I had to be on them. Yeah. Shaq admitted to taking more than what was actually prescribed to ensure he wouldn't feel any pain or discomfort while playing. He playfully referred to it as homeboy math. Shaq also said this. I always do homeboy math. Always says, take one, I'm taking three. Which is now, my counts are low. I'm fixing everything now, but the liver and kidneys real low because of that. Like, for example, when I had surgery and I had to take oxycodone, I would take it just to feel the pain. But after I stopped feeling pain, I would stop taking it. He continued. But when I was playing, I always had to take the Indocin. Hope I said that right. And Artus anti-inflammatories. I had to take it. I had to take the club sandwich, fries, 2 pills, wake up, no injuries. Important games, like I take 2 the night before the game, and then after shoot around, take 2 more. Yeah, so Shaquille O'Neal getting pretty real there about his addiction to prescription painkillers. Rarely do you see athletes come out and say they had an addiction to painkillers, but Shaq was Shaq kept it real by saying, "Hey, I was addicted and I didn't even know I was even addicted." Okay, so yeah, a ton of pro athletes struggle with prescription painkillers. There are some that we hear about and some that we don't. Okay, but that's the price of being great. That's the price of success. That's the price of winning championships. And that's the price of being in pro basketball, pro football. Yeah, that's the price. And yeah. One more thing. I forgot to mention on John Starks, Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller is so gotten in John Starks' head that at one point during the 1995 season, after a regular season matchup, John Starks said one of the weirdest and probably disgusting things. Okay? I kid you not. I kid you not. John Starks said this. John Starks said, after a regular season matchup, he said, "I'm going to cut Reggie Miller's D off and then make him eat it." I think that's to my recollection, to if I recall. He said he's going to cut Reggie Miller's D off and then make him eat it. That's how much Reggie Miller got in John Starks' head, okay? That's how much Reggie Miller got into John Starks' head. It was like, wow. Reggie Miller is the best. Reggie Miller is the best. And when he made Michael Jordan lose it in 1993, oh, yeah. If you can get under the skin of Michael Jordan, who is even tempered, who was pretty much even tempered his whole career, when you can get under the skin of Michael Jordan, man. All right, that's it, and that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I'm out of here. God bless you.